Children of pornstars of Reddit, when did you find out about your mom/dad's career choice? How do you believe it affected your social life? Did your school friends know? I had a friend in high school who was dating this girl whose mom was a pornstar. Her mom's name is Holly Halston. I walked into the main office one day and she was waiting to speak to a vice principal or somebody like that. I started freaking the duck out on the inside. I even recognized her tattoos. I thought someone decided it would be a good idea to film a porno at my school. Got to get those classrooms from somewhere. I had seen her in the office before my friend started dating the daughter, so it didn't click until he told me. Wasn't she arrested for child abuse? Hitting her daughter with a plate or some shit? I found out by looking through my dad's old stash of porn. Turns out, more than half of the movies in his box also star him. Straight porn. In case anyone was wondering. Edit. First time Reddit use of an edit due to the vast majority of comments. Damn. No, my username is not a result of that incident, but rather a coincidence. If you ever have heard of Bad Bad Not Good, it's a play on the name of the group along with a joke from a few years ago I had with some close friends. Also for the dude who asked if I inherited his dick size. Let's just say, I love my father deeply. Thanks for my first gold. Deleted. It's in a jar on the mantle. Not a porn star story, but a homemade porn story. This kid I went to high school with found a video in his dad's porn stash. Started to watch it and jerk off. His mom walks in on him and starts yelling, "That's me, Anthony!" Exclamation mark. He thought it was hilarious for some reason and told everyone about it. It was later confirmed by his mother who was horrified. He told people, "Young man, you put that cock away right this minute." Apostrophe. I'm sure Anthony is already a serial killer. Poor bastard. Were his arms even broken at least? Finally it's my time to shine. And I can only do so with a throwaway. Goodbye sweet karma. So yeah, my mother is a porn actress. She hasn't been my whole life, but she previously was already a stripper. I never got the explanation about how/why she made the evolution from first form to ultimate transformation. Though, when I was a young kid she used to told me she was a dancer. I never went to her workplaces, but more recently I've been able to know where they were. And I also now have very serious doubts about some of my then babysitters, who probably were co-workers of my mother. Around me being 11 years old, I did got what kind of dance my mother was doing at that time. She told me she has been asked to star in a movie, and she was thinking about accepting. I didn't thought much of it at first, but I know that very quickly her work schedule changed, and she explained that was because she became a full-time actress. It took me about 6 months, something like that, to know a bit more about life. And I remember quite vividly the time I asked her. It was in the car. She was getting me back home after my swimming practice. And I asked her, totally out of the blue, "That's porn movies that you play in, right?" She looked back at me through the inside mirror of the car, and I never saw her face like that. It was not exactly shame, but I still don't know what it was. Perhaps it was a mix of relief and fear. It has been the only time I've seen this expression on her face. She nodded yes to me. Because of the expression, I knew it was like a decisive time. So I just went full sincere and answered, "Okay, cool. Can we eat at McDonald's?" Sincerely, it would have been far worse even just a year later. At that moment, I still was a real kid. Never masturbated or anything. And, well, that was my mom. She was taking care of me, by herself, for everything since my appearance in this world, and I was sincerely okay with her job. If I had been a full-on bratty teenager when I got the truth, I probably would have been more pissed than that. My mom is still professionally active today, and she's quite a forbidden topic with my friends. I never had to tell it, though. They just never try this angle, even when drunk or upset at me. I love them. And I love my mother, even though it's really a turn off when I stumble upon her work while trying to find solo time visual support. She has cancelled so much of my erections. Edit. Thanks a lot for all the incredibly positive reactions. Reddit. I was fearing a lot of bad jokes and even more very negative judgments. but you provided quite the exact opposite. I've been adamant about being on my mom's side for all my life, and I never doubted of it. But sometimes it's just very sweet and heartwarming to see people getting it. Just to answer the 3 points that have been brought up the most. 1. My username has actually been made especially for this thread, so it's normal, it fits just right. 2. No, I will not tell you my mother work name. 3. Yes, I got that McDonald's. Thanks again. I will try to answer the last few questions. Now, love the relationship you have between you and your mom. Also love how the innocent young you shot her with the McDonald's comment. Thanks for this. Thank you. When I was a teenager, I very casually knew who Hefner's sons. Their mom had been a playmate, and this was around the time of Girls Next Door, so their dad was obviously dating playmates. They were super quiet about it and didn't really bring it up. But one time, when pressed, they were just very matter of fact. It was a business, and their parents were business people. And to think that the images of them that we knew were in any way related to who they were as real people was probably very wrong. The main thing I got out of it was whose email address, or the one that Mary, his secretary, checked, and I was able to interview him about the journalism that was in Playboy. If you have never read the articles, you should, especially back in the day. There were top writers doing incredible work there. In high school I found my dad's Playboy stash, spanned from about 1980 to 1995. Goddamn, the articles were amazing. I had internet porn then, so the nudes weren't anything special, but I think I read just about every article available. One time at lunch, me and my nerdy friends sat crouched around the lunch table reading an interview with Stephen Hawking. Great read, but I shudder to think what would have happened had we been caught. I found on Craigslist free a random stash of every Playboy magazine from 1980 to 2006. I'm assuming someone inherited them or something. They just said, "It's on the porch until someone claims it." Apostrophe. So many cool stories. It really was incredible journalism at the time. It's sad that its reputation has changed to what it is now. Not me, but knew a couple kids in high school who were the children of a well-known East European porn star, particularly well-known in Italy cause she shagged the Italian stallion, Rocco Siffredi. Anyway, the younger son got caught selling magazines that he'd found in his parents' basement, featuring a lot of his mum. Anyway, it was super weird and all. Got to know the kid a bit better later on, and he seemed pretty chilled. He did get caught with over 100 pot plants by the police, and his parents got done for money laundering a couple years later though. The mom of one of my kids' friends was pretty well known back in the 80s. The mother told us about her past after meeting her for the second or third time, as she wanted to be upfront and didn't want people talking behind her back. I respected her for being straight up with us, and she turned out to be just a regular mom for the most part. I did have to do some research and found several vintage movies of her with Tom Byram and several other of the routine 80s porn guys. That was 15 years ago when we first met her. My investigation into her porn star filmography still continues. I imagine Reddit would gladly and willingly assist you in your quest at no charge if you provided a name for research purposes. After all, it's for the betterment of humanity. Not a porn star, but a friend of mine growing up's mom was in Playboy. Everyone knew about it. We all saw the pictures, of course. She was trying to get into acting, and I guess had a few small roles, but it never took off. She got married, settled down, and moved on. I was about 12-ish when I found out, but the rumor going around was that she just owned it. Told some of her friends, and it got around, and that was that. Everyone was like, okay, cool, no scandal. People just got on with their lives, and it became a funny story of her crazy Hollywood days. My friend was pretty athletic and good looking. The father was a college football player, if I recall, before going into business. And the mom was, well, in Playboy after all, so he was popular enough that no one really gave him shit about it besides the occasional MILF joke, which he just took in stride. They were a cool family. Let us drink at their place in HS, as long as we spent the night. Was this before the internet? I'd imagine that kid would have gotten a ton of shit if it happened recently. Not sure what you mean. The kids all had the actual pictures, so the difference would just be the kids of today are meaner. waiting to hear about the kid who fapped to his mom. Well, we've all done that before, right, guys? Not parents. But I found a video of my brother on a homemade amateur upload. At first I was like, huh, that looks like. Then I realized it actually was. That was a boner killer. I still haven't told him that I found it. I would pass out if I saw my brother doing anything sexual. I'm an older sister. I'm horrified for you. Oh my god, it's making me freak out to even let it cross my mind. Oh. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Username does not check out. My mother is a specialist in artificial insemination for cows in New Zealand. Watched a video of her jacking off a big Hereford bull in agriculture class. My friend turned to me and said, "Your mum really knows how to work her wrist." Apostrophe. Can confirm. My mom was a porn star and still has various ties to the industry. Growing up was pretty normal aside from her being gone at weird times. I suppose the industry led her to be kinda wild and crazy. It took me a while to really understand what she was. I have very early memories of seeing hundreds of porn videos lying around her office. Honestly, children are just blind. I will say that being around that environment started me being sexual at an early age. Once I was older, I kinda used it to brag to my friends. It was a secret that only my close friends knew, but one that I didn't feel the need to be embarrassed by. She was called the hot mom. It kinda just became a norm. I was very successful with women during my younger years, 13. But due to a whole host of other issues during high school, was less successful with women. I'm currently in a very successful 9-year relationship with my GF. Overall, I feel like I'm relatively unscathed. It's just something my mom did. I did stumble upon a video of her once and quickly exited the site. Going to need a name. Research purposes, I assume. Didn't see the of at the beginning. Neither did I. Honestly thought we were asking about children porn stars and their parents' career as child pornographers. I have a Ukrainian cousin who is a model. My aunt showed me the covers of some magazines that were slightly explicit. I think my aunt was too innocent to realize. When the gentleman on Sparks said he ducked my mom, I was worried. Gentleman. Good evening, sir. I regret to inform you that I have had the pleasure of engaging in violent lovemaking with your mother. Apostrophe. I had a friend in high school whose dad was a porn star back in the day. I think we talked about it once, friend and I, and he might have mentioned it once later in the years I was friends with his daughter. It was never a big deal though. Her parents were super cool and never bugged us. They let us drink and roam around the neighborhood as long as we were on foot and spend the night at the house. I think we had to be in by 1. But we could stay up all night and eat all the snacks and have fun because they lived on the 2nd floor and she had the basement. They'd hang out too. But definitely gave is the space to be teenagers as long as we didn't duck it up. I always liked hanging out with her/them. My dad is not a porn star, but he recorded some music with his band that ended up being in a porno. It wasn't specifically made for the porno, just somehow ended up in there. It's an 80s one called The Awakening of Sally. It is also on the internet to watch. If you hear the sax, that's my dad. So, your dad had sax on camera. He was a sax worker. My neighbor was a porn director and his son went to my high school. We had several classes together. He told me that his dad kept his business to himself most of the time. Although he did tell me that porn stars used to stay overnight. I did see several attractive females walk into his house many times. Attractive females? What are you? A Ferengi? Women. Attractive women. Foolish human. Next, you'll suggest that the females walked around clothed. You definitely don't have the lobes for it. There are a lot of a friend of mine posts here. Welcome to Ask Reddit. Not porn, but my mom was a prostitute. I found out around sophomore in high school when she told me. None of my friends knew. But now a few do, because I've talked to them about it. It kinda ducked with me for a while, because I was very conservative about sex. Grandparents raised me, and I was judgmental in my mind. But never to my mom. Now that I'm older, I'm way more accepting of it. Especially when a couple years ago I was struggling to make rent fresh out of high school and was deeply considering sex work. I did sell a few pairs of used panties and went on a couple dates to make some extra cash for rent, but never had pay for money. Desperation is a hell of a motivator. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.